In today's video, I am sharing inspiration using the brand new Craft Your Life project kit, Honeycomb Haven from Altenew. This is from their November 2025 release. This video is also a part of a video hop, so it is filled with designers that is also sharing inspiration using this brand new release. I will have the link to the next person down below in the video description, but be sure to leave a comment to be entered into the giveaway. I will have links to the supplies that I'm using today in the video description, so if you love these products and want to support my channel, please use my affiliate links in the description below when you shop. And be sure to stay tuned to the very end where I will be sharing 2 more projects using the Craft Your Life project kit. Here's a look at the Craft Your Life project kit Honeycomb Haven. I love this entire bundle. It's got the honey jar plus some really fun sentiments. We also have the honey stick. There is a layering stencil, which I will be using in the video today. And then there is a zero waste die to die cut out the stencil background. So you could use the background by itself or die cut out the pieces individually. And then there is the honeycomb embossing folder. And as always, Altenew has provided an inspiration guide with the stamp set. So this lists out different projects that you can create, give you some ideas to get started, and also some colors. And I'm actually going to be using a lot of the colors that they have listed here. I do provide links to the full ink collection for that particular color down below, and I'll also have it on my blog. The layering stencil is a 4-piece stencil that's, when it's layered together, is going to create this beautiful background with some flowers, some little honeycomb pieces, and then some bees. So I'm starting out with a piece of white cardstock that's cut to 6 by 8.5, and I have it secured down to my 9 by 12 sticky mat. Now I am starting out with some mini blending brushes to do just the flowers. I'm using pink pearl for that. I start in the center of the flower and then blend out to the edges and have it kind of fade off so it's a little bit lighter pink on the edge of the flowers. Then I can come in with golden honeycomb and I can do the rest of the pieces on here. So that's going to be some of the flowers and also starting with the body of the bee. I'll remove the first layer of the stencil, which I had just held down with some tape because the stencil took up the full size of my cardstock from edge to edge. So I just used a tape to hold that down to my sticky mat. Now I'm moving on to yellow orca, and that's for the center of all of the flowers. It's a really nice dark yellow. And then I can come in with milk chocolate for the legs and the head of the bee. Now I am switching over to some micro blending brushes. There's actually 2 different sizes in there, and I will be using both of those sizes to do this. It's really, really helpful to use smaller blending brushes for this because then you can really kind of focus in on a particular area. The third layer of the stencil, I'm starting off with pumpkin pie, kind of adding in the detail to the flowers and also the stripes for the bumblebee. I think it is a super cute color combination, very warming. Just be really careful because we're going to be starting to add the wings, and you don't want to get any brown on your wings unless that's what you want. But I wanted to keep mine nice and clear so I can come in with blueberry ink. It's a really, really light blue, and I added that with the smallest of the micro blending brush. This next layer of the stencil is going to be finishing off some of the wings. So we're adding to the wings of some of the bees, and then we're also giving one of the bees its wings. I'm going to bring in the darkest color for the center of the flowers, and then the rest of it is going to be our foliage. So I'm coming in with swamp green. Again, this is actually the color combination recommended by Altenew, and it is mixing a couple different palettes, which I really loved this color combination. So to start off with, I did swamp green, and then I'm going to come in with a sugar kelp, and I'm going to add that darker color just to some areas of that foliage. So just little bits here and there, kind of randomly. So this is going to do our entire background, which you could leave on its own or use the zero waste die, and I'll show you both of them. So I'm removing that last layer of the stencil, and then to remove this from my sticky mat, because this is a brand new sticky mat, so it's pretty sticky, I'm going to bend it in half and then peel the mat away from my cardstock. That way I don't risk ripping it. So if you want to use all the individual pieces, you would line up the zero waste die. I do recommend holding it down in multiple places because since it is a large plate that you're going to be running through your die cut machine, so I will run that through. It's going to cut out everything individually. So you could create so many more cards from this because everything is kind of individual. You could do some very clean and simple cards with those bunches of flowers. And I will be showing a card at the end of the video where I'm using those pink flowers and some of the foliage. I have another panel that I created off screen that I will be using so I can use the entire background. Now I'm going to do some stamping, and this is the honey jar. It is a really, really fun image. I'm using my Stamp Wheel 2.0 to do this and a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of white cardstock. So I placed down the outline. I'm using my go-to technique, which is I'm stamping it in a light gray ink first. And this is the permanent gray from Altenew. Now, I'm going to stamp it actually about 3 times so that you can see it on camera. But in real life, I would probably only stamp it once or twice. I usually do this technique when I'm ink blending, but it's also a great technique to use when I'm going to be layering images over the top. So I am leaving that outline on there. I just flip the plate over and I'm going to pick up the inside of the jar. So I have a stamp right now on both sides of my plate. That way I didn't have to move my outline stamp. I can use that to stamp the black outline afterwards. You'll see what I mean as we go. So I'm going to use one of my yellow colors that I had used in my background. I'm going to stamp that down first. You could actually start with maybe a lighter color if you wanted more of a transition. So I'm going to leave that stamp there and then come in with a darker shade. So I'm inking up the bottom of the jar and then I'm taking a paper towel and just dabbing off right at the top so that this is going to fade just like a real honey jar would. Layering stamps is one of the first kind of ways that I fell in love with Altenew. So I get really excited when they bring in some of these layering sets again, and especially with something like a honey jar because it's not your typical stamp that you would see with a layering stamp. Usually with Altenew, it was flowers. So this was actually kind of very if I want to say nostalgic for me, because it was where I fell in love with Altenew to begin with. Now I moved on to the lid and I am stamping this. Second layer is going to be in Coral Berry, but I will have this ink collection listed below too. This of course can be in any color. I just loved that kind of that pop of like a pinky red. And there's a few different layers. There's 3 layers, I think, for the actual top of it. And then we have the piece that's going to be the wrap around the lid. Now, once I had everything stamped, then I can come back over to the side that has the outline. I'm going to ink that up in the obsidian ink, and then I'm going to flip this over and I can stamp the outline back in, and that's going to bring everything back up to the forefront. So you don't have to stamp that black outline like I did first in a gray and then coming back in, but I really love the results of this. I feel like I get more of a crisp image. Now I'm going to be doing the same process for the honey stick. I started with the outline being stamped in that permanent mist gray and then flipping the plate over using the other side to stamp in the details. This one doesn't have any layers, so you could kind of do that swiping or that dabbing off technique if you wanted to add more texture and more colorization to it. So after that was stamped, I'm stamping the outline and I'm also stamping a sentiment in the obsidian black ink. I used the coordinating die to die cut out the honey jar, the honey stick, and also my sentiment. And then I did trim my full panel background down to 4.25 by 5.5. So this is going to be an entire A2 size card front. I layered the back of my honey jar with the foam tape. I just have my honey stick there as a guide for right now. I added a little bit of foam tape to the right-hand side of my sentiment, liquid glue to the other side so it's overlapping, and then just using the liquid glue to add that honey stick off on the side. So that is this finished card. I absolutely love the colors that Altenew picked out. So kudos to them for choosing that. It's okay to use those guides for your card projects. That's what it's there for, is inspiration. Now here's another card I created. This is where I used the zero waste die to cut out the background. So you can see I have the flowers there, some foliage. I even added in some of those honeycomb pieces as like embellishments. And then of course the beautiful bees, which I loved. And then here is the third card I made where I used the embossing folder. I did a little bit of ink blending on the background. I did a shimmer spray and then also a few black splatters. So those are my 3 finished card projects. Let me know which one of those cards was your favorite down below in the comment section. And don't forget that by leaving a comment along the video hop that you are entered into the giveaway, which I have explained down below in the video description. And I also have a link to the next person in the hop. So tons of inspiration to be seen today. I hope you all enjoyed this kit as much as I do. Thank you so much for joining me today. Here is another video that I think you may enjoy.